Hi, everyone. This is Brendan Keneally. I am the founder of NESTER and going to do a very quick demo of our Enterprise product, which is made for SFR owners and operators. What you see here is a summary screen. I'm going to skip over this for the moment because you can kind of customize that down the road with the things that are most important to you. I'm going to jump right to the portfolio page. Just lists out all the properties in your portfolio. You can assign them groups. We, for simplicity, just have ABC here, but you could have that by state, by property type, whatever makes the most sense for you all and how you do that. And we list out some basic metrics for those properties, and you can drill down into each of them from there. I'm going to come back to that in just a minute. I want to show you, though, a few ways that we can kind of help you manipulate some of the data in our group projections. So in the group projections, we have three basic functions that you can work with. I'm going to start with profitability. So we're just going to build out some scenarios. The way we start with the base group, and so we'll use, just for the sake of this, we'll use Group A, which we're also calling residential, and we're going to do 5 years. You'll see here really quickly that there's 50 properties included in the base group, and you have 8 additional properties that are in that group but are missing data and so are not included below. You can drill down into those 8 and update data that might be missing. So that's our base group. We're then going to add a scenario. And let's say we want to exclude, in scenario 1, we'll exclude the 10% of properties with the highest amount of projected maintenance. We call it NESTER maintenance. So we want to see what it looks like if we were to exclude those things. And so now that populates, and we will do one more. We'll do a second scenario, and in this, we'll do something similar, but we will exclude all the properties that have a NESTER score lower than 50. A NESTER score, think of it as like a FICO score, but for home maintenance. We give every house a NESTER score based on its sort of where it is in its life cycle of all the major components of home maintenance. So we give every house that score, and what would happen that score goes from 0 to 100, with 100 being a brand new home, perfect, and 0 being everything needs to be replaced. And so this, we're saying let's exclude everything below 50. So when we do that, what you'll notice is the base group has 50 properties. Scenario 1 has 45, and scenario 2 cuts a little bit deeper and brings it down to 40. So 10 were excluded. All right, so let's see what that does. And in this case, the base group has we see the profit margin goes up if we exclude those properties, and then we show by how much, what that increase is in profit margin if we were to exclude those properties. We also see the profit difference in actual dollars, and that wouldn't always go up, but in this case it does, because there are fewer properties in scenario 1 and scenario 2. So you could actually see actual profit going down while profit margin going up, but in this case it's still positive. And then we show, well, what would happen, how much potential capital might you have at the end of all of this in the various scenarios to redeploy. And so we show that here. And so for example, in scenario 2, you'd see your profit margin. If you were to get rid of those houses, you'd increase your profit margin by 27%. Your actual profit would go up, and you'd have $2 million of capital to redeploy. Those are all strategic decisions for you. We don't get involved in that, but we just try to show you what happens in these various scenarios. So there's a lot of different scenarios you can do. You can run up to 4 scenarios on the same page. So we can show you the base plus 4, and you can, kind of play with all that as much as you like. So that's profitability. We also do maintenance costs. So again, we'll just kind of build this out. We're going to go with Group B over the next 2 years, and we're going to show the maintenance costs for 30 items. There's 30 items on our that were major items that we're looking at. Things like roof, windows, HVAC, HVAC components, major appliances, things like that. So we're just showing over the next 2 years which properties have the most, what the maintenance expenses are. So we're showing those here. I can sort by maintenance. I can sort by any of these, but I can click on maintenance expenses. So we know over the next 2 years in Group B, these are the streets that are going to have the most expenses coming up. You can then drill down into them. You can click on an address and see what's going on with that property, and make decisions based on what you find. Again, we also list which properties are missing data, and so are not included, which gives you the opportunity to make sure that you're filling out, going in and getting data that might be missing. And finally, on this page, we have replacement needs. This is really good for procurement. So we'll start with Group B. We're going to select a couple of items, and you could select any from this list. Oops, excuse me. We're just going to pick 3 just for this. And so in this case, we picked roof, hot water heater, furnace, and we're showing, okay, over the next 5 years, how many of each of those need to be replaced. And again, we in Group B just have 40 properties, where I guess there's 46 properties. 6 have some missing data, and 40 have full data in order to produce this report. But this could be 40,000. It doesn't matter. And so in this case, we are showing, you need 2 roofs in 25, and over the next 5 years, you're going to need 6, and you're going to need 15 hot water heaters. But this is a really valuable tool for procurement. And so especially if you have, thousands of properties, being able to map out how many hot water heaters, furnaces, things like that you're going to need, instead of just replacing those one at a time, you can leverage some of those numbers for procurement as you talk to your vendors. The other thing you can do is click right into it, and this was the hot water heater, and see which addresses are going to need that. We have the information about it, and then the replacement cost is here that's what we project. One of the things that we're adding is in this area, group inputs. We're adding a way for you to override this. So, you may have a different cost for certain items, and you may want to override, and that would go into that section. We also have this prospects tool. So basically what that does is it does everything that I just showed you. It just does it for properties that are not in your portfolio yet. But if you are looking at a batch of, you're thinking about an acquisition of 50 homes or 100 homes, you could put them all through this, and then it gives you a really good idea of what you're actually buying in terms of the maintenance side. What's the average NESTER score for the portfolio you're looking to acquire? Which of the houses within the portfolio are going to have the biggest costs coming soon? And again, gives you the ability to really understand what you're buying, and perhaps make some decisions on which of the portfolio you get. I'll come now. I go back to the portfolio. The other thing that we can do, or I said I would circle back to this, is you can drill down into each home. So each home has this home details page. It has all the various components. So your operations folks can see the data that's in each one of these. We ask a number of questions. All of this can be bulk uploaded if you have data on each of these. And one of the nice things is that can be uploaded, and then you get a really good picture of which properties have complete data, which properties have incomplete data. You can set targets for that with your ops team to say, hey, this is the average completion score for our portfolio, and we'd like to see that increased over time, and things like that. So that's the home details. So each of these can be added to. And then financial details. This just shows, I'll come back to this top part in just a second, but we have, the expenses which you would be putting in, for whether if it has a mortgage or any of the expenses around this particular property, however you do that. We also have some, purchase and equity stuff that may be important. We use it at the end to help calculate things like, what you could use to redeploy capital. And then we just show cash flow based on when including the NESTER CapEx fund, which is our projection of how much you need to save each year into to cover the ongoing maintenance costs for this home. So this allows you to drill down all the way into the individual home financial details, and we call home details. And then finally, the summary page. I said this is somewhat customizable. I would just draw your attention to this bottom section, which is it gives you a snapshot of all the properties in your portfolio and where they are in their NESTER score. The NESTER score was that that single score that we give every house. So what this does is it shows you in your portfolio, what does it look like? What's your portfolio look like in terms of home maintenance and sort of the life cycle of the homes in your portfolio? In this case, it's pretty good. You only have a small number in the red. In the red, your average NESTER score is a 74, which is pretty good. But if you saw this flipped, if this was the other way around, that might be a concern that you want to be thinking about and preparing for. If that were the case, all of our numbers, of course, would reflect that in the amount that we say needs to be saved and invested to get those, to continue the ongoing maintenance for those properties. So I'm going to leave it there. All of this is, we can port in data. You can do it one house at a time. You can send a spreadsheet with the data you have on homes, and our dev team can import it in, and then you're ready to go. And hope that was helpful, and look forward to connecting soon.